The story begins with a scene of profound public humiliation. At her sister's elegant outdoor wedding, Sophia stands as a bridesmaid, the fabric of her dress tight around her neck. During the vows, a sharp, sudden pain lances through her. She feels a warm, wet sensation spreading under her collar. Before she can react, a foul, sulfurous odor fills the air around her. The large, golf ball-sized cyst on her neck, hidden beneath her hair and the dress's high neckline, has ruptured. A dark, viscous fluid seeps through the silk, creating a grotesque stain. The gasps and the subsequent, crushing silence are more painful than any physical sensation. The narrative then flashes back 5 years to trace the origin of this very public disaster. It started at age 14, as a small, painless bump behind her ear, no larger than a pea. Her parents dismissed it. A doctor, during a rushed physical, called it a harmless sebaceous cyst, a cosmetic nuisance, nothing more. For years, it was easy to ignore, to hide under her hair, but it grew, steadily and relentlessly, from the size of a marble to a large, protruding mass that distorted the line of her neck. Friends made careful, concerned comments. A boyfriend asked about it once, his curiosity laced with a hint of revulsion she never forgot. Each time, she deflected. She researched the minor outpatient surgery required to remove it and was deterred by the recovery time, the cost, the sheer hassle for something benign. She mastered the art of styling her hair to conceal it, of wearing high collars, of turning her head in specific ways during conversations. The story establishes a long, entrenched pattern of denial, shame, and minimization, all building toward the inevitable, catastrophic moment at the wedding where the thing she tried so hard to hide announced its presence to the world in the most devastating way possible. The story details Sophia's 5-year struggle with a sebaceous cyst that began as a small, ignorable bump behind her ear and grew, relentlessly, into a tennis ball-sized mass. It distorted her silhouette, making it impossible to hide despite her mastery of scarves, strategic haircuts, and high-collared shirts. Her family's gentle concern was met with a wall of excuses. Life, she insisted, was too busy. There was always an exam to study for, a new semester starting, an internship to secure. Surgery was a monumental inconvenience for a problem she had convinced herself was merely cosmetic. The catalyst for action arrived with her sister Emma's wedding invitation. Sophia was to be a bridesmaid. The thought of the cyst being immortalized in every photograph, a glaring flaw in her sister's perfect day, filled her with a cold dread. She finally scheduled a consultation, but the solution was cruelly timed. The only available surgery date was weeks after the wedding. Panicked, she resolved to hide it. On the wedding day, she spent an hour sculpting her hair into an elaborate updo designed to conceal the swollen mass, but as the ceremony approached, her anxiety spiked. The cyst felt heavy, taut, and painfully full. The skin stretched over it was shiny and translucent, stretched to its absolute limit. The story builds almost unbearable tension as the wedding march begins, setting the stage for an inevitable public disaster. The story reaches its crushing climax in the midst of the wedding ceremony. Standing at the altar, Sophia felt a sharp, throbbing pressure in her neck. A warm, unsettling wetness touched her skin. She knew, with a terrifying certainty, that the cyst was about to rupture. But as her sister Emma turned to exchange vows, her face radiant with joy, Sophia made a choice. She would endure the pain. She would not cause a scene. She would not ruin this moment. She clenched her jaw, praying for the ceremony to end. But as the officiant pronounced the couple husband and wife, the pressure became unbearable. A seam of skin gave way. With a soft, sickening tear that only she could hear, the cyst ruptured. A stream of thick, foul-smelling fluid, yellow and streaked with blood, spilled down her neck, soaking into the delicate chiffon of her bridesmaid dress. The putrid odor hit the air a second later. A wave of whispers rippled through the front rows as guests recoiled, their faces twisting in confusion and disgust. All eyes, which should have been on the happy couple, were now fixed on her. The public humiliation she had feared for years had arrived at the most sacred moment of her sister's life. Sophia is horrified and frozen in place, a statue of shame in her bridesmaid's dress. The ceremony continues around her, the triumphant music, the cheers for the new couple. But she is trapped in a bubble of humiliation. The foul odor hangs around her like a cloud. She can feel the stares, the whispers, the way people subtly lean away. The narrative ends on this excruciating moment of personal crisis, highlighting the catastrophic consequences of her long-term denial and the devastating clash between a private, neglected suffering and the most public of family events. The story reaches its devastating climax as the cyst ruptures fully during the final wedding vows. A wave of thick, foul-smelling fluid soaks through the delicate fabric of her dress, creating an unmistakable, grotesque stain. The putrid odor draws horrified attention from the guests. The bride, Emma, glances over, her radiant smile dissolving into a look of confused distress. Overwhelmed with a humiliation so complete it feels like a physical blow, Sophia turns and flees the ceremony, pushing through the crowd as tears blur her vision. Her parents find her sobbing in a bathroom stall and take her directly to the emergency room. There, a doctor cleans the wound, his demeanor clinical and detached. He explains that while the contents have drained, the cyst wall, the sac that produced the fluid, remains embedded in her skin. It will require formal surgical excision to prevent it from refilling. The story ends with Sophia returning home in sterile hospital scrubs, her beautiful bridesmaid dress sealed in a plastic biohazard bag. In the distance, she can hear the faint sounds of music and laughter from her sister's wedding reception. A celebration she has ruined and from which she is permanently exiled. The narrative concludes on a note of profound, isolating shame and the stark, irreversible consequence of procrastination. The story's final chapter details the devastating aftermath. Photos and a short, cruel video of the incident circulate online, turning her private humiliation into a public spectacle. Her sister, Emma, confronts her days later, her face contorted with a rage fueled by heartbreak. "You ruined it." Emma cedes, her voice trembling. "All of it. Every time I look at my wedding photos, I'll see the empty space where you should have been. I'll remember the smell, the stares. You didn't just ruin a day, you tarnished a memory that was supposed to last a lifetime." The confrontation leaves no room for forgiveness, cementing the incident as an irreparable fracture in their relationship. Sophia is left with the crushing weight of knowing her inaction did not just cause a moment of embarrassment, it permanently broke a bond and defined her sister's most cherished memory. Sophia underwent the surgery she had delayed for years. The procedure was swift and successful, but it left a significant, ropey scar on her neck, a permanent, visible testament to her procrastination. Yet the most lasting damage was not on her skin, but in the silence between her and her sister. The closeness they had shared was shattered, replaced by a persistent tension and the heavy weight of unspoken blame. The story ends on a note of profound, aching regret, highlighting how Sophia's failure to address a manageable problem early on led to consequences that were both personal and deeply relational, and utterly irreversible. The story concludes years after the wedding, exploring the long-term fallout of Sophia's inaction. Time did not heal the wound between the sisters. It only scarred over, leaving a permanent, sensitive ridge. Her relationship with Emma remained deeply fractured, a connection reduced to polite, obligatory exchanges at family holidays. Emma could not look at her beautiful wedding album without a wince of pain. The memory of the humiliation was a stain she could not remove, forever tainting the joy of the day. In her heart, she believed Sophia had stolen an irreplaceable, pristine joy from her. Driven by a desperate need to forge meaning from her catastrophic mistake, Sophia channeled her guilt into public advocacy. She began sharing her story with raw honesty on online forums and in support groups. Her voice, once trembling with shame, grew steady and firm as she warned others not to ignore seemingly minor medical issues, to quiet the voice of denial that whispers, "It's nothing." Her message was a simple, powerful mantra born of devastating experience. A small problem, left unaddressed, can become a catastrophe. The most courageous step you will ever take is the first one toward addressing it. A fragile, painful reconciliation began only when Emma had her first child. The need for family, for an aunt to hold the newborn, created a bridge over the chasm of resentment. They spoke, carefully at first, about pediatrician appointments and sleep schedules, a silent agreement to avoid the past. The emotional scar, however, remained as deep as the physical one on Sophia's neck, a permanent part of their shared history. The story ends on this somber note of cautious, imperfect healing. Life moves forward, but some mistakes leave permanent marks. The central message stands as a powerful warning. Procrastination is not a victimless act. It is a gamble with consequences that can ripple outward. damaging relationships and leaving scars that last a lifetime. The true cost of inaction is often paid by those we love the most. The story concludes with a powerful, final reflection on the permanent damage wrought by Sophia's procrastination. For Emma, the memory of her wedding is forever fractured. The joy of the day is inextricably linked to the public humiliation, the foul odor, and the sight of her sister fleeing in tears. She can never look at her wedding photos without a pang of loss for what should have been. Sophia, in turn, carries a lifelong burden of guilt, a weight as constant and visible as the scar on her neck. Knowing her inaction irrevocably tarnished one of the most important days of her sister's life, the narrative then turns outward, breaking the fourth wall to speak directly to you, the reader. It asks a simple, pointed question. Is there a health concern you've been downplaying or ignoring? A strange mole, a persistent pain, a lump you've convinced yourself is nothing? This story is a cautionary tale. Its core message is a stark and vital warning. A small, ignored problem, dismissed as trivial, cosmetic, or inconvenient, can escalate with devastating speed into a catastrophe with irreversible personal and relational consequences. It is a plea to listen to your body, to quiet the voice of denial, and to act. The most courageous step is often the first one, making the appointment. Do not let procrastination steal what you cannot get back. That's all about our stories. Do you have any thoughts after hearing the story? Please share it in the comments below.